Hi there, and congratulations. Smart choice of you to tune into this new announcement of a new EHEDG Connects webinar, online webinar, free for all, about valves. Valves are, of course, very important in the food industry. They're widely applied, but they also represent a challenge to design them hygienically, of course, but also to select the right ones for your applications and to maintain them after you use them frequently. So these are the topics that will be addressed in the new webinar. And I'm here to talk with the chairman of the EHEDG Working Group Valves about this topic. He will also be one of the presenters. His name is Uwe Heisswolf. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Those here who don't know you yet, Uwe, why would we listen to you? What makes you the expert here? What's your professional background?
I started my career as a process engineer for the chemical and petrochemical industry. About 20 years ago, I shifted over to valve development, also for the chemical and petrochemical industry. And 13 years ago, I joined Kieselmann, and now from that moment on, I'm involved with valves for the food industry.
Now, of course, Uwe, you're also the chair of the EHEDG Working Group Valves, and that working group comprises various stakeholders from different areas and levels of the food equipment supply chain. Tell us a bit about your working group, about the stakeholders represented in there, and what makes it so special for you.
Yes, of course. Our valve working group represents the most well-known valve manufacturers in Europe. That's very important because we are all designers, we are all faced to the same problems, to the same issues, and we are, even if we are all competitors, we have a very harmonious and very constructive working atmosphere. And fortunately, we also have 4 members from the end user side, which act more or less like a kind of counterweight to the designers, to the engineers, and it's a very, very nice working atmosphere. And I think in this constellation, we are able to improve also the content of our guidelines.
So what would you consider to be the most common problems with valves in general?
According to my experience, the most problems we are faced to are caused by the selection of the wrong valve or the wrong valve type for the specific application. Therefore, we like to give some recommendations what should be considered by selecting the suitable valve type.
Now, just recently, we also conducted an EHEDG Connects webinar on the topic of PFAS, so the new legislation around PFAS. That must affect your products, your components as well, right?
Yes, of course it is. And as a manufacturer for equipment for the use in the food industry, we are obliged to observe and also to implement all the statutory regulations. However, sometimes it feels like being on a wooden raft floating down a wide river, and you have to react on the situation you are faced to. And at the end of the day, we have to see and have to find out what is going on, because we are fully depending on our suppliers for the sealing materials. We are not the manufacturer of sealing materials, so we have to see what kind of material is available, what material can be used instead of the former material. This is very interesting for us, and this is a lot to do in the next future.
The webinar, how will you approach it? What will be the scope of this webinar of yours?
The webinar covers roughly the topics: hygienic design criteria, selection of valves, and maintenance. So the hygienic design part discusses briefly the key design features, and we try to introduce the basics in relation to the fundamental guidelines and standards, such as EHEDG guidelines or 3A sanitary standards.
Every episode of our EHEDG Connects webinar series consists of a 30-minute presentation followed up by a 30-minute Q&A session in which you, the attendees have an opportunity to pose questions to our experts. Uwe, what types of questions do you normally get from people in the food industry?
Yeah, of course, there are some technical questions, some questions regarding the functionality, but the last recent years is changed to maintenance, because maintenance is a very, very important point, because maintenance on the duration of the maintenance means production downtime. Production downtime is very, very important, because the end user tries to reduce the production downtime. And so maintenance becomes more and more important. So we try also to cover this point, and we try to answer the questions what needs to be considered when it comes to valve maintenance, for example. We see also in the last time that the maintenance people will get more and more involved before we get the order.
So a correct selection, design, and maintenance of these valve components affects not only the food safety, but also the consistency of the food quality and even the productivity and sustainability.
Of course, and also the hygienic design features are very important. The better the hygienic design, the less maintenance you have.
Thank you, Uwe, for doing this. We're looking forward to attending your webinar. You can invite anyone watching to join us now.
Of course, yeah. So the webinar is addressed to anyone involved with the selection or installation and use of valves, such as plant designers. Our aim is to provide the audience with the essential information on the subject of valves in the food industry, and in a very concise manner. We cannot cover everything because we only have half an hour time, but anyone who is involved in this topic is therefore cordially invited to take part in this webinar.
Well, if you're not convinced yet to register for and to attend this EHEDG webinar, then maybe this will change your mind. The second presenter of this EHEDG webinar will be Catarina Melo is her name, and she is the Hygienic and Aseptic Design Engineer at EHEDG company member Danone. So the webinar will also represent the perspective of the end user. So I hope to see you there. Thank you for watching. See you at the webinar.